My name is Terry, and I just turned 57 last month. Tonight, I drove 90 minutes with homemade food and carefully wrapped presents to surprise my son Jennifer for Christmas. I stood at his doorstep, heart pounding with excitement, only to hear the words that shattered my world. "I think you have the wrong house." The confusion in his eyes seemed genuine, but I recognized the decorations I'd given them last year. As I turned away, tears blurring my vision, I wondered where I went wrong. If you've ever felt rejected by your own family, share your experience in the comments and subscribe to follow my journey as I discover the painful truth behind my son's rejection. The winter chill cut through my coat as I walked back to my car, the weight of the rejection heavier than the bags of presents and food containers in my arms. I couldn't process what had just happened. Jennifer, my only child, had pretended not to know me on Christmas Eve. I've been a widow for almost 20 years now. My husband Thomas died from a sudden heart attack when Jennifer was just 9 years old. Since then, it's been just the two of us against the world. I've worked as a nurse at County General Hospital for over 30 years, often taking double shifts to make sure Jennifer had everything she needed growing up. Jennifer is 29 now, and he married Simon 2 years ago. Before Simon came into the picture, Jennifer and I were inseparable. We cooked together every Sunday, took small weekend trips whenever we could afford them, and shared everything with each other. I was there for every milestone in his life, from his first heartbreak to his college graduation. When he landed his first job as a marketing coordinator at a local firm, we celebrated by splurging on a fancy dinner that cost me nearly a week's pay. I didn't care. Seeing my son happy was worth every penny. Jennifer met Simon at a mutual friend's birthday party 3 years ago. At first, Simon seemed polite and charming. He brought me flowers when Jennifer invited him over for dinner the first time and asked thoughtful questions about my nursing career. But looking back, I should have noticed the red flags. How he would subtly criticize Jennifer's close relationship with me. The way he would check his phone whenever I started talking about our family traditions. After they started dating seriously, Jennifer began canceling our weekly dinners. Our phone calls grew shorter. My text messages would sit unanswered for days. When I brought it up, Jennifer would say they were just busy building their life together. I understood that. After all, isn't that what parents want for their children? To grow up, fall in love, create their own families. Still, I wanted to stay connected to my son's life, so I kept helping in the ways I could. Since Jennifer graduated college, I've been sending him $800 each month through automatic bank transfers. Initially, it was to help with student loans, then it became support for their first apartment, and eventually for their house down payment. I never minded. My needs are simple, and helping my son gave me joy. This year, I invited Jennifer and Simon to my house for Christmas as usual. In all the years before, even through college, when Jennifer brought roommates who couldn't go home, we'd spent Christmas together. But 3 weeks ago, Jennifer called to say they wouldn't be coming. They wanted their own space this year, to create their own traditions. It hurt, but I tried to understand. They were a young married couple figuring out their own path. That's when I had what I thought was a brilliant idea. If they couldn't come to Christmas, I would bring Christmas to them. I spent days preparing all of Jennifer's favorite foods, the sweet potato casserole with the extra brown sugar topping he loved as a child, the cranberry sauce made from scratch with orange zest, the special herb-roasted turkey breast that Jennifer always said was better than any restaurant's. I wrapped presents I'd been collecting all year. A leather messenger bag for Jennifer to replace the fraying one he carried to work. A custom coffee mug with Simon's name and a quote from his favorite movie. Small, thoughtful gifts for both of them that showed I'd been paying attention to their likes and interests despite the growing distance. I packed my car on Christmas Eve, planning to surprise them. I imagined the look of joy on Jennifer's face when he opened the door and saw me standing there with all his favorite holiday foods. I pictured us laughing together, maybe watching a Christmas movie like we used to. Even if they had other plans later, surely they would welcome me for a quick visit. The drive to their house in the suburbs took 90 minutes. They had moved further away last year after getting a good deal on a charming colonial with a big backyard. I didn't mind the drive. The roads were clear despite the Christmas traffic, and I listened to holiday music the whole way, singing along and feeling more hopeful than I had in months. As I pulled into their driveway, I noticed several other cars parked along the street. My heart sank a little. They must be having friends over. But that was okay. I would just drop off the food and presents, give quick hugs, and be on my way if they were busy. I wouldn't intrude on their gathering. I gathered the first load of containers and gifts, carefully balancing them as I made my way up the front walk. Their house was beautifully decorated with white string lights and a wreath on the door. Through the front window, I could see their Christmas tree glowing with colorful lights. The sight warmed my heart. Jennifer had always loved Christmas decorations just like me. With my arms full, I had to use my elbow to ring the doorbell. Then I waited, a smile ready on my face, excitement bubbling inside me. I was about to see my son on Christmas. What could be better than that? The door swung open, and there stood Jennifer, my son. For a split second, I saw surprise in his eyes, quickly replaced by something that made my heart drop, a cold discomfort mixed with annoyance. He was wearing a festive red sweater I hadn't seen before, hair neatly styled. Behind him, I could hear laughter and the clinking of glasses. "Mom!" He stepped halfway out, partially closing the door behind him as if to block my view inside. "Merry Christmas, sweetie, surprise!" I lifted the containers in my arms. "I brought all your favorites. The sweet potato casserole cranberry sauce. Those chocolate cookies you always asked for seconds of when you were little." Jennifer's expression didn't soften. If anything, his frown deepened. "I think you have the wrong house," he said flatly. I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Very funny. Come on, help me bring in the rest from the car. There's more food and your presents." "Mom." His voice was firmer now. "This isn't a good time. We have guests." "Oh, I won't stay long," I promised quickly. "I just wanted to drop these off and maybe have a quick cup of coffee with you. It's Christmas Eve after all." Jennifer sighed and glanced over his shoulder. "We already have plans. You should have called first." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "But it's Christmas," I repeated as if that explained everything. In our family, it always had. "We told you we wanted our own space this year," Jennifer said, his voice taking on an edge I rarely heard. "We were clear about that." As he spoke, the door opened wider and I caught a glimpse inside. Their dining table was set beautifully with candles and a centerpiece I had never seen before. Several people milled about in the living room, drinks in hand. They were hosting a Christmas Eve dinner party, and I wasn't invited. Simon appeared behind Jennifer, placing a hand on his shoulder. He gave me a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Everything okay?" he asked Jennifer, not acknowledging me directly. "Fine," Jennifer replied, then leaned in as Simon whispered something in his ear. I stood there, food containers growing heavy in my arms, feeling more out of place with each passing second. The rejection was so unexpected, so complete, that I couldn't process it. This was my son, my only child, the person I had centered my entire life around since Thomas died. Jennifer turned back to me, his expression now resolved. "Mom, we have friends over, and we've planned this evening for weeks. I'm sorry, but this isn't a good time." "I understand," I said, though I didn't. "Not really." "I can just leave these with you and go." Jennifer hesitated, then shook his head. "We don't have room in the fridge for all that, and honestly, we've already prepared everything we need for tonight." I looked down at the containers in my arms, the foods I had spent days preparing with love. Foods that held memories of Christmases past, of Jennifer's childhood, of our family traditions. And my son was refusing them. Oh, I said softly. Well, what about your presents? Can I at least leave those? Another whispered exchange between Jennifer and Simon. Then Jennifer shook his head again. You can give them to us another time, maybe after the holidays when things aren't so hectic. I felt tears threatening to spill, but forced them back. I wouldn't cry here, not on their doorstep, not in front of whoever might be watching from inside. Okay then, I managed to say. I guess I'll go. Merry Christmas, Jennifer. Merry Christmas, Mom, he replied, his tone softening slightly, perhaps from guilt. But the door was already closing. I turned and walked back to my car, every step feeling heavier than the last. As I placed the food containers and gifts back in the trunk, I glanced back at the house. Through the window, I could see Jennifer and Simon rejoining their guests, laughing about something. Neither of them looked back to see if I was still there. The rejection cut deep, a physical pain in my chest. I got into my car, but didn't start it immediately. I couldn't face the long drive home, not in this state. Instead, I decided to find a hotel nearby. I would spend the night, try to collect myself, and drive home on Christmas Day. As I pulled away from the curb, the holiday lights that had seemed so cheerful on my drive-in now blurred through my tears, mocking the loneliness that engulfed me on what should have been a night of family and love. The hotel room was bland and impersonal, with generic artwork on the walls and a bedspread that had seen better days. But it didn't matter. Nothing mattered at that moment except the crushing weight of rejection pressing down on my chest. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing my coat, staring at nothing. My eyes burned from crying, and my throat felt raw. On the nightstand, I had placed the small container of Christmas cookies I'd kept from the car, the ones I'd decorated with red and green icing, Jennifer's favorites, since he was a child. They seemed to mock me now, symbols of a connection that apparently existed only in my mind. My phone rang, startling me out of my daze. Jennifer's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered, my voice hoarse. Hello? Mom? Jennifer sounded different now. Calmer. Where are you? I got a hotel room nearby, I admitted. I was too upset to drive home. A pause. You didn't need to do that. Well, I did. I couldn't keep the hurt from my voice. Jennifer sighed. Look, Mom, I'm sorry about earlier. We need our space right now. We're trying to establish our own traditions, our own life together. I know it's hard for you to understand, but this isn't about rejecting you. It's about us growing up. I wanted to believe him. I desperately wanted his words to be true. You could have just told me that instead of pretending you didn't know me, I said quietly. I know, and that was wrong. I panicked. We had all these people over, and then you showed up unexpectedly. He trailed off. I'm not handling this well, but I need you to understand that Simon and I need some independence. The constant checking and the surprise visits, it feels suffocating sometimes. I hadn't realized my love felt like suffocation to my son. The thought brought fresh tears to my eyes. I understand, I said, though it broke my heart to say it. I'll try to respect your boundaries more. Jennifer's tone softened. Thank you. That means a lot. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? We can talk more then. I need to get back to our guests now. Okay. Merry Christmas, Jennifer. Merry Christmas, Mom. And I really am sorry about how I handled things. He sounded sincere, and I felt a small measure of relief. Maybe we could work through this after all. It's okay, I said. Go enjoy your party. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow, Jennifer said. Then instead of the call ending, I heard rustling sounds. Jennifer had forgotten to hang up. I was about to end the call myself when I heard Simon's voice in the background. Is she finally getting it? He asked. I think so. Jennifer replied, his voice fainter now, clearly not aware I was still on the line. She said she understands. Good, Simon said. It's about time. She thinks that money she sends every month buys her a seat at the table. I froze my finger, hovering over the end call button. Money buys her a seat. Was that what my son thought? That my financial support was some kind of transaction? I know, Jennifer said with a laugh that stabbed at my heart. It's so annoying. I don't even know how to end it without causing drama. More voices joined in, people I didn't recognize. Is that the controlling mom you told us about? A female voice asked. The one who shows up unannounced all the time, another added. Yeah, Jennifer confirmed. She's been like this since my dad died. Can't accept I have my own life now. God, that's toxic, someone commented. My mother-in-law is the same way. They think because they raised you, they own you forever. Exactly, Jennifer agreed emphatically. And Simon's been amazing dealing with it. I don't know how he puts up with her. The things we do for love, Simon said dramatically, and everyone laughed. I sat there, phone clutched in my shaking hand, listening as my son and his husband and their friends mocked me, belittled the love and support I had given freely all these years. They portrayed me as some kind of monster, a controlling, toxic presence they had to tolerate. Finally, I heard someone say, "Hey, is your phone still on?" And the call abruptly ended. I placed my phone down gently, as if it might shatter like my heart just had. The truth was far worse than the rejection at the door. This wasn't a misunderstanding or poor timing. My son and his husband actively resented me. They took my money while laughing behind my back. I sat in that hotel room for hours, replaying every interaction, every conversation, trying to understand where I had gone wrong. Had I been controlling without realizing it? Was my love truly suffocating? As midnight approached, bringing Christmas Day with it, I made a decision. I opened my banking app and navigated to the automatic transfer section. The monthly $800 payment to Jennifer's account was scheduled to go out in 3 days. With a deep breath and hands that wouldn't stop trembling, I canceled it. Then I canceled all future transfers as well. If my love and support were just annoying obligations to them, if my money was seen as an attempt to buy affection rather than a mother's desire to help her child, then perhaps it was time to stop giving both. I cried myself to sleep that night alone in a strange hotel room on Christmas Eve, mourning not just the holiday that had been ruined, but the relationship with my son that I now realized had been broken for much longer than I'd been willing to admit. I spent Christmas Day alone in that hotel room, unable to face the long drive home and the empty house waiting for me there. I ordered room service, a sad little turkey sandwich that bore no resemblance to the feast I had prepared, and called my friend Jackie, but she was with her family and couldn't talk long. I didn't want to ruin her Christmas with my problems anyway. Instead, I sat by the window, watching families come and go from the hotel, their arms full of presents, their faces bright with holiday cheer. Each laughing child, each hugging couple was a reminder of what I had lost, or perhaps had never truly had. By evening, I had stopped crying. The pain was still there, a dull ache in my chest, but the shock had worn off, replaced by a strange numbness. I looked at my phone periodically, wondering if Jennifer would call as promised. He didn't. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel and drove home, the containers of now spoiled food still in my trunk. I threw them away as soon as I arrived home, unable to bear the sight of them. The presents I put in the back of my closet. Maybe someday I would find someone else to give them to. Life returned to its rhythms. I went back to work at the hospital, finding solace in the predictability of my shifts and the gratitude of my patients. My colleagues noticed I was quieter than usual, but I blamed it on post-holiday fatigue. Only Jackie knew the truth, and she was furious on my behalf. "You've given that boy everything," she fumed when we met for coffee a few days after Christmas. "And this is how he repays you, by mocking you with his friends. You should cut him off completely." "I canceled the transfers," I told her quietly. "But I can't cut him out of my life entirely. He's my only child, Jackie." She squeezed my hand. "I know, honey, but you need to protect yourself too. What they did was cruel." I nodded, fighting back tears again. I was tired of crying, tired of the hollow feeling in my chest. "I keep wondering what I did wrong," I admitted. "Was I really controlling? Did I suffocate him without realizing it?" "Terry, listen to me," Jackie said firmly. "You are the most generous, loving mother I know. You worked double shifts for years to give that boy everything he needed. You supported his dreams, celebrated his achievements, and yes, you helped him financially when you could barely afford it. That's not controlling, that's being a good mother." Her words were a balm to my wounded soul, but doubts still lingered. I had always thought Jennifer and I had a special bond. How could I have been so wrong? A week passed with no word from Jennifer. Then, just as I was finishing my shift at the hospital, my phone rang. It was him. "Mom?" His voice sounded tentative. "Did you forget something this month?" I knew immediately what he meant, but I played dumb. "Forget something like what?" "The transfer," he said, a hint of impatience creeping into his tone. "It didn't come through." I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the nurse's station. "I canceled it," I said simply. Silence on the other end. Then, "What, you can't do that?" "Actually, I can," I replied, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "It's my money, Jennifer." "But we're counting on that." His voice rose indignant. "We have bills to pay." "So do I pointed out. "And I'm sure between your job and Simon's, you make more than enough to cover your expenses." "This is so unfair," Jennifer spluttered. "Why would you do this without talking to me first?" "Why would you tell your friends that I think money buys me a seat at your table?" I countered. Another silence, longer this time. "What are you talking about?" But his voice had changed, a note of unease replacing the indignation. "You forgot to hang up the phone," I said. "After you called me on Christmas Eve, I heard everything, Jennifer. Everything you and Simon and your friends said about me." "Mom, He started, then stopped. "You were eavesdropping on a private conversation." I couldn't believe he was trying to turn this around on me. "You left the line open," I said, "but that's beside the point. Is that really what you think of me? That I'm trying to buy your love? That I'm controlling and toxic?" "You took something out of context," he argued. "We were just venting. Everyone complains about their parents sometimes." This was more than complaining, Jennifer. You were laughing about my support being annoying. "Simon said, I think money buys me a seat at your table. Is that true? Is my love nothing but an annoyance to you?" "You're twisting everything." Jennifer's voice was angry now. "This is exactly why we needed space from you. You're so dramatic about everything." "I'm not being dramatic," I said quietly. "I'm hurt. I'm your mother, and I heard my son mocking me with his friends. How would you expect me to feel?" "Look," Jennifer said, his tone shifting to one I recognized from childhood when he wanted something. "I'm sorry if what you heard hurt your feelings. We were just joking around. You know how Simon gets sometimes, he exaggerates. But we do need that money, Mom. We've budgeted for it." The manipulation was so transparent that I almost laughed. "No, Jennifer, not anymore. I've helped you for 7 years since you graduated. It's time you stood on your own feet. So that's it." His voice hardened. You're punishing me over one conversation you weren't supposed to hear. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm respecting your wishes for independence, and I'm respecting myself too. Fine, Jennifer snapped. If that's how you want it to be, don't expect to hear from me again. You've made your choice. The call ended abruptly. I stood there in the busy hospital corridor, nurses and doctors rushing past, feeling oddly calm despite the confrontation. For the first time in years, I had stood up for myself. It hurt terribly, but there was also a strange sense of relief. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. You'll regret this. Don't come crying to me when you're old and alone. The cruelty of the words stung, but I didn't respond. Instead, I finished my shift, drove home, and poured myself a glass of wine. As I sat on my couch that evening, I realized I had spent so many years trying to fill the hole Thomas's death had left in our lives that I hadn't noticed when Jennifer had stopped appreciating my efforts and started resenting them instead. The next day, Simon called. His approach was different, smooth, conciliatory. Terry, hey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Jennifer was upset yesterday and said some things he didn't mean. Did he? I asked, not buying it for a second. You know how he gets. Look, we value your support, both emotional and financial. We're family, right? Families help each other out. Yes, they do, I agreed. But families also respect each other. They don't mock each other behind their backs. About that, Simon's voice turned apologetic. I feel terrible. Those comments weren't meant seriously. We were just blowing off steam with friends. You know how holiday stress gets to everyone. I know exactly how it feels, I said. I spent Christmas alone in a hotel room after being turned away from your door. And we feel awful about that, Simon insisted. We want to make it up to you. Why don't you come over for dinner this weekend? We can talk everything through. I almost gave in. The pull of reconciliation of having my son back in my life was strong, but something in Simon's too smooth tone, in the convenient timing of this olive branch right after the money stopped, made me hesitate. I don't think that's a good idea right now, I said. I need some time. Simon's voice changed instantly, the pleasant facade dropping. Time for what? To punish Jennifer. He's devastated, you know. First, you spring a surprise visit on us when we explicitly asked for space. Then you cut off financial support we've relied on for years, and now you won't even talk to us face to face. Who's being toxic now, Terry? The manipulation was so blatant that it strengthened my resolve. I'm sorry you feel that way, Simon. I truly am, but my decision stands. You'll regret this, he warned, echoing Jennifer's text. Family is forever, Terry. Think about what you're throwing away over a stupid misunderstanding. After I hung up, my phone began buzzing with texts and calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Friends of Jennifer and Simon, I realized as I listened to the first voicemail. They accused me of being selfish, controlling, emotionally abusive. One woman I'd never met called me a classic narcissistic mother who couldn't bear to see her son happy and independent. The coordinated attack was stunning in its viciousness. These people didn't know me, had never met me yet. They felt entitled to judge me based on whatever Jennifer and Simon had told them. I blocked the numbers one by one, a sense of unreality washing over me. How had it come to this? 3 months passed. Winter gave way to early spring, the hospital gardens sprouting the first crocuses and daffodils. I had settled into a new normal, working my shifts, spending time with Jackie and a few other friends, joining a book club at the local library. The ache of Jennifer's absence never quite disappeared, but I was learning to live with it. One Tuesday afternoon, I was grocery shopping when I heard someone call my name. I turned to see Margot, the mother of Jennifer's college roommate Zach, walking toward me with a cart. Terry, how are you? She asked, giving me a quick hug. I haven't seen you since the boys graduated. You look wonderful. Thank you, I said, genuinely pleased to see her. Margot and I had bonded during our son's college years, commiserating over tuition bills and campus visits. "How's Zach doing?" "He's great, working for a tech firm in Boston now. Just got engaged last month." Her face clouded slightly. "I heard about you and Jennifer. I'm so sorry." I tensed. "What did you hear?" Margot looked uncomfortable. "Well, Zach ran into Jennifer and Simon at a reunion a few weeks ago. They told him you two had a falling out because you were trying to control their lives. Something about showing up uninvited on Christmas and then cutting them off financially when they asked for boundaries." She frowned. "It didn't sound like you at all, which is why I wanted to check in." I felt sick. So this was the narrative Jennifer and Simon were spreading. "That's not exactly how it happened," I said quietly, and found myself telling Margot the whole story right there in the produce section of the supermarket. When I finished, Margot looked horrified. "Oh, Terry, I'm so sorry. That's absolutely awful." She hesitated, then added, "I hate to say this, but something about Simon always bothered me when I met him at their wedding. He struck me as calculating." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Just the way he was so charming to certain people, like he was performing. And Zach mentioned—" She paused again. "Well, Jennifer told Zach they've been having some financial issues lately. Apparently, Simon has quite a bit of debt that Jennifer didn't know about until after they were married." This was news to me. "What kind of debt?" "Credit cards, mostly. Zach said Jennifer was pretty stressed about it. They might have to sell the house." I absorbed this information, wondering if the monthly money I'd been sending had been going towards Simon's debt rather than their household expenses as I'd assumed. "There's something else you should know," Margot added, lowering her voice, even though no one was nearby. "Zach ran into Adam last month, Adam Wilson. He was in Jennifer's study group junior year." I nodded, remembering Adam, a kind, thoughtful boy who had often joined us for Sunday dinners when he couldn't go home to Chicago for breaks. "Adam told Zach that Simon reminds him of his sister's ex-boyfriend. Apparently, this guy isolated his sister from their family, made her believe they were trying to control her, then took advantage of her financially. It was a whole awful situation that took years for her to escape from." My blood ran cold. "Are you saying Simon is— what abusive—" Margot shook her head quickly. "I don't know about that. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but Adam said the pattern seemed similar. The isolation, the narrative of the controlling family, the financial issues." I thanked Margot for telling me and finished my shopping in a daze. Could Simon be deliberately isolating Jennifer from me? Had he orchestrated the Christmas rejection, the cruel conversation I overheard, the subsequent attack by their friends? At home, I did something I'd resisted doing for months. I searched Simon's name online. What I found disturbed me deeply. A small claims court case from 6 years ago where a previous boyfriend had sued Simon for unpaid loans. A complaint on a roommate finding forum warning others about his tendency to borrow money and never repay it. A series of addresses showing he had moved frequently, often breaking leases. None of these things proved he was abusive, but they painted a picture of financial instability and questionable ethics that concerned me. Had my son unwittingly married someone who saw him, and perhaps me, as financial resources to be exploited? I called Adam, and we met for coffee the following weekend. He confirmed what Margot had told me and added more details about his sister's experience. "The isolation happened so gradually, she didn't even notice at first," Adam explained. "First, it was just comments about her family being too involved. Then he started scheduling things that conflicted with family gatherings. Eventually, he convinced her they were trying to control her, that their concern was actually manipulation." It sounded painfully familiar. Hadn't Simon done the same with Jennifer and me? The subtle comments, the increasingly frequent conflicts with our plans, the narrative of me being controlling. "What should I do?" I asked Adam. "I can't just show up at their house. Jennifer won't answer my calls or texts. My sister's situation only changed when she was ready to see the truth, Adam said gently. Pushing too hard could just drive Jennifer further away. But maybe find a way to let him know you're there without judgment whenever he needs you. I took Adam's advice and sent Jennifer a simple card for his birthday in April. No mention of our conflict, just love and good wishes. He didn't respond. I sent another card when I knew their anniversary was approaching. Still nothing. Finally, unable to bear the silence any longer, I drove to their house one Saturday afternoon in May. I noticed immediately that the garden Jennifer had been so proud of was overgrown with weeds. The curtains were drawn, and the house had an unloved look about it. I knocked my heart pounding. After a long moment, Jennifer opened the door. I barely recognized him. He had lost weight, his face gaunt, and his eyes shadowed. His hair, always meticulously styled before, was lank and unwashed. "Mom!" He seemed genuinely surprised to see me. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see how you're doing," I said simply. "I've been worried." "I'm fine," he said automatically, but his appearance contradicted his words. "You shouldn't have come." "Jennifer, please, can we talk just for a few minutes?" He glanced nervously over his shoulder. "Simon will be home soon. He wouldn't. It's not a good time." The fear in his voice alarmed me. "Jennifer, are you safe? Is everything okay between you and Simon?" His eyes widened. "What?" "Yes, of course. We're fine. I told you it's just not a good time." Before I could respond, a car pulled into the driveway. Simon got out, his expression darkening when he saw me. "What is she doing here?" he demanded as he approached, not bothering with a greeting. "I just stopped by to check on Jennifer," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Well, now you've checked. He's fine. You can go." Simon moved to stand between Jennifer and me, his posture protective but feeling more possessive. "Jennifer," I said, looking past Simon, "if you ever need anything, I'm here. No questions asked." "He doesn't need anything from you," Simon said coldly. "We're doing great without your interference or your money." But the state of the house and Jennifer's appearance told a different story. As they retreated inside, Jennifer cast one last look at me, a look that contained something I couldn't quite decipher. Fear, regret, longing. Before I could decide, the door closed, and I was left standing on the porch, more worried than ever about my son. Summer came, bringing with it the 1-year anniversary of my lonely Christmas. The memory still stung, but the pain had dulled, somewhat overtaken by my growing concern for Jennifer. After my visit to their house, I had tried calling a few more times, always going to voicemail. I'd sent more cards, all unanswered. The wall between us seemed impenetrable. Then, on a sweltering July evening, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but something made me answer, instead of letting it go to voicemail as I usually did with unknown callers. "Hello? Mom?" Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper, trembling with emotion. "It's me." My heart leaped. "Jennifer, are you okay? Where are you calling from?" "I'm at Leah's place," he said, naming a colleague from his work I'd met once or twice. Can you come get me?" "Of course," I said immediately, already reaching for my car keys. "What's the address?" He gave me directions to an apartment complex across town. As I drove, my mind raced with possibilities. Was he hurt? Had he and Simon had a fight? Was this reconciliation or emergency? When I arrived, Jennifer was sitting on a bench outside the building, a single duffel bag at his feet. He looked even thinner than when I'd seen him in May, but there was something different about his posture. A tension that had disappeared, replaced by bone-deep exhaustion. He rose when he saw my car, picked up his bag, and walked over. I unlocked the doors, and he slid into the passenger seat without a word. Up close, I could see his eyes were red-rimmed and puffy from crying. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "Always," I replied. "Do you want to talk about it, or should we just drive?" "Drive, please. Can I stay with you for a while? I don't have anywhere else to go." "My home is always open to you," I said. "You know that." We drove in silence for several miles before Jennifer finally spoke. "You were right about Simon," he said, his voice barely audible over the car's air conditioning. "About everything." I waited, giving him space to continue at his own pace. "After you stopped sending money, things got worse. Simon was furious. He kept saying I needed to fix things with you, get the transfer started again." Jennifer stared out the window, not meeting my eyes. When you wouldn't answer his calls, he changed. He started monitoring all our accounts, questioning every purchase I made. He told me I had to make up for the money we'd lost. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I'm so sorry, Jennifer." He shook his head. "Don't be." It opened my eyes. I started noticing other things, how he always came between me and anyone I cared about. How he twisted everything to make me doubt myself. The debt he'd hidden from me until after we were married. "Margot mentioned something about debt," I said carefully. Jennifer gave a bitter laugh. "Mentioned something, Mom? He's more than $60,000 in credit card debt. I had no idea until the collections calls started coming a few months ago." He turned to look at me finally. "The worst part is realizing what I've done to you. The things I said on Christmas. The way I treated you after everything you've done for me." "We don't have to talk about that now," I said gently. "Let's just get you home and settled." "No, I need to say this," Jennifer insisted, his voice stronger now. "I was awful to you. I let Simon convince me that your love was control, that your generosity was manipulation. I believed him when he said you were holding me back. And then I hurt you, deliberately pushed you away because he said we needed to be independent from your influence." His voice broke. "I'm so ashamed." We had reached my house. I parked in the driveway and turned to face my son. "Jennifer, listen to me. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Simon is the one who should be ashamed. But I believed him over you, over our entire history together. How could I have been so blind? Because that's what people like Simon do," I said. "They isolate you, make you doubt yourself, and everyone who loves you. It's not your fault." Jennifer looked down at his hands. "I've left him," he said. "For good this time." "This time?" He nodded. "I tried once before after your visit in May. You looked so worried and something clicked for me. But he found me at my friend's apartment, promised he would change, said all the right things. I went back." He took a shuddering breath. 2 days later, he took my car keys away, said we needed to save on gas. Then my phone broke, and he said we couldn't afford to replace it right away." The control tactics were so obvious now that Jennifer laid them out. How had I not seen the signs earlier? What changed this time? I asked. "I found divorce papers in his email," Jennifer said. "Not to divorce me. He was using them to threaten me. There was a whole draft message about how he would leave me penniless if I didn't find a way to fix things with Mommy Dearest, as he put it." His voice hardened. That's when I knew for sure. He didn't love me. He loved what I could provide: access to your money, a nice house, respectability. We sat in the car for a long time talking as the summer evening faded into twilight. Jennifer told me everything: the gradual isolation, the financial control, the emotional manipulation. How Simon had encouraged him to see me as the enemy. How he'd coordinated their friends to pressure me after I stopped the transfers. How he'd monitored Jennifer's phone and email to prevent contact with me. Classic signs of an abusive relationship, all of them. My heart broke for my son, for the pain he'd endured, for the shame he now felt. But underneath the sorrow was a fierce joy. My son had found his way back to me. Over the following weeks, we began the slow process of healing both our relationship and Jennifer's wounded spirit. I helped him find a good divorce attorney. We went to therapy both individually and together. Jennifer moved into my spare room temporarily, then found a small apartment of his own when he felt ready for independence again. Simon didn't give up easily. There were angry calls, threats, attempts to guilt Jennifer into returning. Once he even showed up at my house demanding to speak to his husband. I called the police and he left before they arrived. The divorce proceedings revealed even more financial deception. Simon had taken out loans in Jennifer's name, run up debts on joint credit cards, even borrowed money from their friends, claiming it was for Jennifer's non-existent medical issues. It was a difficult time, but through it all, our bond grew stronger than ever. We talked honestly about the past, about my grief after Thomas died, about my fears of losing Jennifer too, about whether my love had sometimes felt overwhelming to him. We acknowledged mistakes on both sides, but also the genuine love that had always been there beneath the misunderstandings. By the time December rolled around again, Jennifer was settled in his new apartment, working on rebuilding his credit and his confidence. The divorce was finalized, with Simon getting far less than he'd hoped for once his financial misdeeds were exposed in court. "Will you come for Christmas?" I asked Jennifer one evening as we finished dinner at my house. It was our new tradition, Thursday night dinners. No pressure, just enjoying each other's company. "Or we could do it at your place if you prefer." Jennifer smiled, the genuine, unguarded smile I had missed so much during our estrangement. "I'd love to come here," he said, "but only if I can bring the sweet potato casserole this time." On Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after the painful rejection that had started it all, Jennifer arrived at my door with a casserole dish in his arms and tears in his eyes. "I'm home, Mom," he said simply. And he was. As we move forward together, I carry the lessons of that painful year with me. I've learned that love without boundaries isn't really love at all. It's dependency. I've learned that financial support should be given freely, without expectations or strings. I've learned to recognize the warning signs of manipulation and control. But most importantly, I've learned that true relationships can weather storms and emerge stronger. Jennifer and I talk more openly now. We respect each other's independence while cherishing our connection. The money I once sent automatically now goes into my retirement account, and Jennifer insists on it staying there. "You've given enough," he tells me. "It's time to take care of yourself too." Sometimes I think about Simon and the others like him who prey on loving relationships, inserting themselves between parent and child, partner and partner, friend and friend. They seek not love, but control, not connection, but domination. They're out there looking for generous hearts to exploit. If my story helps even one person recognize the signs of a controlling relationship, if it helps one family find their way back to each other after being torn apart, then some good will have come from our pain. Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you love? Have you experienced the healing that comes from honest communication after a betrayal? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if you found value in our journey, please like this video and subscribe to follow more stories of family healing and growth. Remember, it's never too late for a new beginning, and sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the strongest connections. Thank you for listening, and may your holidays be filled with genuine love and respect.